global movement henceforth. Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we move on to the next speaker of our session, and we are joined by Rajender Dichpally ji. He is joining us from New York. Rajender ji is a director at the Gandhian Society, a non-profit organization in the USA. He is the National General Secretary of the Indian Overseas Congress. He is a senior executive in an IT firm in New York and has, to his credit, 3 degrees of masters in marketing, finance, and computer science. Apart from being actively involved with several Indian organizations and fundraising events involved, he's also involved with several philanthropic causes. He's instrumental in building the US-India relations through various associations. He is also the director of the India-USA Security Council. He works closely with senators, congressmen towards favorable US policies with India. We welcome you, sir, to this Virtual Global Conference 2021 and open the stage for your speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Jaihind, for bringing me onto this platform. My greetings to Sudhir Tambeji, Durgatai, Suraj, and the other team members. When we speak about India at 75 and the challenges ahead, we need to understand the journey that this nation has taken over the last 75 years to be at the stage at where we are. 75 years of tremendous challenges and great strides of development that we have taken couldn't have been possible but for the great visionary leaderships by some of our great leaders in the past. And I would like to first of all, say that how we got independence. We after the Bengal famine in which lakhs of people had succumbed to hunger, and then one of the greatest tragedies of modern times, where our country had to go through a partition, where the country was divided into India and Pakistan. During this difficult phase, we got our freedom, and within 1 year, we lost the man who led us to this great journey of freedom, Mahatma Gandhi. From there, we had the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, who took over the nation in a very precarious position. And with his visionary leadership and his great navigation, he took the country forward, whether it was with we had very less resources when we got independence in 1947. From that phase, building a modern India, a secular, plural India, building institutions that could survive several decades, giving the country 5-year plans, and taking India onto the international stage so that its voice could be heard loud and clear. Nehru was instrumental in building the foundations of modern India, and he was a revered leader across the world. The fact that when he came on a state visit to the US in 1961, the then very popular president of USA, John F. Kennedy, had gone into the aircraft, Air India aircraft, to receive him, breaking protocol. This showed the stature of our first prime minister amongst the world leaders. Then after that, the country saw a very difficult phase after Nehru passed away. For a very short period of time, we had another very good prime minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who, even though he was there for a short period of time, the country went through a war during his time, 1965, but he gave the country a great agricultural revolution and a slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. And after that, we had the first woman Prime Minister of India, the Iron Lady, Indira Gandhi ji, who again took over in very difficult circumstances. And when the country was facing threats internally and externally. And she oversaw the challenges and again gave a stable government to the country, whether it was the White Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, the nationalization of banks, the abolition of privy purses, or demarcating East and West Pakistan, the threat of East and West Pakistan, and creating Bangladesh were her great legacies to this great country. And after that, unfortunately, when she was assassinated and the country again was facing tremendous challenges, we saw a very young man, a visionary young man who wanted to take India through rapid strides into the 21st century, the dynamic late Rajiv Gandhi ji. He gave India a big boost in the areas of telecom, technology, economic reforms, and constitutional reforms. And he always had a dream to make India the most developed country in the world. Unfortunately, the dream was short-lived, and he was again assassinated like his mother. During these difficult times, our late Prime Minister, P.V. Narasimha Rao, took over and implemented some of the economic reforms that Rajiv ji had a vision for, and we saw India emerging out of many decades of economic slowdown into rapid strides in economic development. Then we had Vajpayee ji, who took over after some time, and for 6 years, close to 6 years, he gave the country the leadership for 6 years. And after that, we had UPA 1, led by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi ji, and under the Prime Ministership of Manmohan Singh ji, and UPA 2. And during this phase, we saw great policies like Food Security Act, Employment Generation Act, which are amazingly great tools to uplift rural and poor people from poverty, especially in rural areas. They gave the country the right to information, where any citizen with a very minimal amount can get the information about the policies and the programs of the government. And then the very most, according to the people, US-India team, I think the way they navigated the civil nuclear deal between India and US is absolutely amazing and appreciable. In 1998, when Vajpayee ji, under the premiership of Vajpayee ji, when we detonated the nuclear blasts, the then Clinton administration had put sanctions on India and Pakistan. And from there on, to get out of these sanctions and get India back on, remove the sanctions and get this civil nuclear deal was a big deal, because we had a Republican president whom the Democrats thought had stolen the elections from us, George W. Bush 43. And that is where the Indian Americans played a very important role in helping India and making the US-India relations stronger. The Indian American community rallied behind this deal, spoke to the senators, rallied behind the veteran groups, and convinced them to write letters to their senators and congressmen that India is a stable ally in that region in the best interest of security for USA. I think almost, and Lataji will correct me, almost 80 to 90 senators and congressmen who never liked President Bush, they voted for this deal just because of the Indian American community and the hard work that we did. And I'm proud to say that I was a small part of the team that worked on this US-India security, where we got generals, Air Force, Army, and Navy personnel from India to speak to the senators and congressmen that India will not use the new nuclear technology for military purposes, but only for civil purposes. And even though at that point of time, CPM was and CPI were supporting the UPA 1 government, I give full credit to Mrs. Gandhi and Manmohan Singh ji for standing firm that this deal was in the best interest of the country and making it go through the parliament with support from other parties like Mulayam Singh's Samajwadi Party and all. And this historic deal became a reality. India was put out of the sanctions. And today, the power sector will see a huge boost in the next coming years because of this historic deal. Similarly, Indian Americans have played a very important role in the defense pact between USA and India. As we are all aware, India is a country that has never attacked any other country. We are a peace-loving country, but we always stand firm when it comes to our territorial defense. And towards this, even though we are a peace-loving country, we have aggressive neighbors around us, and we needed a stable and a strong ally to take this defense treaty to the next level. And the Indian American community again came forward and convinced the senators here and congressmen here that it is in the best security interests of America to have a defense pact with India, especially in view of the threat that it faces with China and to a very less extent with Pakistan. And this became a reality in 2006 when President Obama signed it into executive order after Republican senator, the late senator from Arizona, John McCain, put it for vote in the Senate. And as we speak today, the community is again rallying behind India to make India a NATO ally for trade purposes. My organization, US-India Security Council, is working very hard with the senators again and congressmen to see that India gets NATO ally status for trade purposes. This will give India a huge boost in terms of trade. It will triple the trade, if not more, with US and make India and US a natural allies that they are in terms of trade and defense. And this is good for the world peace, world security, and India's territorial aspirations of stability and security. Now, the challenges that we face in India today are how do we protect the institutions that we meticulously built over decades of perseverance and hard work. What we see is some of the institutions are crumbling, and it is a duty of every like-minded Indian to stand up and protect these institutions, whether it is through their vote or whether it is through their voice. We have to stand up now. Otherwise, the whole idea of India that was nurtured, that was obtained with so many sacrifices of lives, of years in jail, of turmoil, of sweat, of blood, will be washed away. These institutions that were meticulously built, whether it is the judicial judicial institutions, the executive institutions, the media, they're all being strangled to a certain extent. I'm not talking political language, but it is the duty of every Indian to stand up and protect the institutions for our future generations. And I think the time has come for all like-minded forces to protect and preserve and fight for the very idea of India that is being threatened at present. Another very important thing is how do we deal with environment issues? The whole world is facing a tremendous challenge. You see these hurricanes, these storms and all that we are seeing all across the world. We thought, our children will face this environment challenges, but it's happening sooner than we ever imagined. And it's for all right-thinking people and right-thinking leaders to take immediate steps to address these challenges of an environment that is threatening the whole world. And in terms of, from India's perspective, how do we protect secularism? How do we protect the lesser voices? How do we give equal opportunities to people in rural areas. How do we maintain a balance between urban and rural development? That is a big challenge. I'm reminded of a famous quote of Bapu, who said, if you want to see a real progress of a nation, look at the progress of its villages. That will tell you the real progress of a nation. Today, as we surge ahead after 75 years of independence, we see the urban and rural divide very much compared to what was what was decades ago. We also see economic disparity from the haves and have-nots, and we should address this issue, which is very important if you want stability and security in the country. And finally, I would like to say a few words on the Gandhian society that I'm involved with. The Gandhian society here has been started by Mr. Bhadra Butala, and we have a team here that has been working very hard for doing a lot of good work to take forward the message and legacy of one of the greatest men that walked this planet Earth, that is Mahatma Gandhi. We have been doing charitable activities in India and in the US, and especially in the second wave of pandemic, which started this year in March. The Gandhian Society came forward and sent 200 oxygen concentrators to India during the initial phase of the pandemic. I'm not saying 200 is a big, there are many organizations like other organizations that have done more, but I'll tell you, being a new organization, we reached out, we were one of the first organizations to reach out to India, and I'm proud to be associated with this work. We are also sponsoring ambulances to India. Our first ambulance to India was flagged off yesterday, and this month we are donating 10 ambulances. We hope to do more, but more important is a project that is very close to my heart and the Gandhian Society's beliefs. We want to build a digital museum for Mahatma Gandhi in the US. This is like a life science museum where we can take American, Indian, black, white kids to this museum and teach them life's values. Like you take kids to the science museum, you show them science. We want to take kids to this museum and say, look, you can be like this man, simple, honest, sincere, patriotic, and be a good product in the society. And we are partnering with some good corporates who are coming forward to help us, like the Birla Group and other important diaspora. We hope to start one museum in New Jersey and take this museum project across major cities in America so that we can build these digital museums where children can learn life lessons. As you all are all aware, Bapu's life was a great message to many, many people, not only in India, but in the US also. Great legendary leaders like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and recently President Obama took great inspiration from this man. And I hope we continue to take inspiration from one of our greatest leaders that the country has produced. And I would like to finally end here by saying a few quotes from this great man. He said, where there is love, there is life. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. And then finally, my life is my message to the world. What he meant to say is live your life the right way and give a good message to your loved ones and to the world. I thank Jaihind for bringing me onto this platform. And I thank Mr. Tambe and his family for making me a part of this movement. I wish you all have a great seminar ahead. Thank you so much, Suraj, and thank you so much for the team. Jai Hind, God bless America, and God bless India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a pleasure to hear your experience and words which threw light on the different aspects that you covered in your speech, and also the expectations that we all have from this great nation. Thank you so much for joining in. I also wish you all the best for this new concept of the digital museum that you are initiating in your place. And we wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. Especially, I would like the audience to note that Rajender Dichpally ji had a small flag behind him. It was a flag of India and America joined together by some hooks. So basically, people like you who are there for us and are there to make sure that international ties between these countries stay good always. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm sure you would continue your associations with the Jaihind global movement henceforth. Thank you so much.